Come on, smile. They just look so beautiful, so pretty. This is a Henry VIII one, isn't it? This one. One of his. Yeah. We also have Tudor days here, so on the shoulder, Tudor. Yes.
So, could I just welcome absolutely everybody, delighted you were able to come. We are incredibly fortunate to be here, as we were 10 years ago. It doesn't seem like 10 years, does it? When we did our 90th celebration. And again, we've been invited here by Lord Petre. Lord Petre has been our patron for a very long time. Not quite 100 years, but it probably feels like that. He's been a wonderful patron, and it is incredible to be back here. I'm just going to ask him to say a couple of quick words.
I will say therefore really just to welcome you most warmly to this occasion. Of course, compared with the age of this particular house, the Plainfields Association is but a newcomer. But nevertheless, 100 years is some achievement. And we only hope that it can continue for another 100 years. Why not? That is problematic, as you'll probably hear later on, but I do urge you to continue to support. We've had terrific support over the years, and we hope that will continue. But anyway, as I say, I just welcome you warmly and commend to you the Essex Plainfields Association.
Very much indeed, as always. Those of you that were here 10 years ago will remember that I gave quite a long history about the Essex Plainfield Association. I am, however, just going to give a very quick recap. It all began in the very early 1920s, when there was an enormous amount of house building going on all over the UK. And a great deal of concern was raised, because people said, wait a minute, a lot of the land that should be being used for recreation and play is disappearing because these wretched house builders are building houses all over it. And a number of people got concerned about this, and they set up a campaign, starting in London, they set up a campaign to protect the playing fields that already existed and to start to build some more playing fields to ensure that new playing fields were built. Now, this campaign got an enormous boost because suddenly King George V took a tremendous interest in it. And he advised, encouraged, or perhaps instructed, I don't know, his Lord Lieutenants. Do you get instructed? I don't know. Anyhow, he got hold of all his Lord Lieutenants right across the county, 52 counties in those days, and said, look here, every single county should have a county playing field association with a specific deal of making certain there are playing fields, protecting them, building them where there aren't any, maintaining them, and trying always to keep upgrading them and improve the quality. That was his instruction. And it's commemorated because a number of you, of course, have got King George V playing fields, and that's why. Now, the three counties that led the chase, if you like, were Gloucestershire, Surrey, and Essex. And Essex had a very, very keen supporter, someone called Lieutenant Colonel Ernest. I have to check. What's his name?
Loftus.
That's Loftus, that's right. And he really drove it very hard. And it meant that Essex won the race. We beat Gloucestershire by about 3 months. So we are the oldest county playing field association in the country. There's a foundation in London which is slightly older. It's not a county. So that's really something to celebrate. So the Essex Playing Field Association was set up. My predecessor, the first chairman, was someone called Lord O'Hagan. Now, Lord O'Hagan was quite a famous person. He was a member of the House of Lords for 61 years, and he was principal Lord-in-Waiting to King Edward VII. As I've said before, one of my colleagues have unkindly suggested that perhaps my credentials aren't quite up to the job. It is interesting, though, these people had tremendous vision. They were also, because they were all very much members of the establishment, they were incredibly outspoken. And when they came up against some opposition to all this, I mean, they just brushed it aside and said, rubbish, this is what we're going to do. And they came up with a very interesting model for a playing field. Now, in lots of countries in the world, you get wonderful sports fields. And in other countries, you get fantastic play areas. It is very unusual to have what we have in this country, because when they set up this model, they decided that what you should have is an area of green space, and they enshrined this in law. In other words, there has to be a certain area of green space per head of population. It's called the 6-acre law. Still applies to today, although I get the slight impression that one of the new builders have found a way around it, but that's a separate discussion. So they said it had to have a certain area of green space, it had to have children's play area, and it had to have area where you could play sport, usually cricket or football. And I think this is important because it meant that for the community, everybody in the community, irrespective of age, found something useful in the playing field. And over the years, the playing field, in many cases, became the centre of the community, and that was important. As I say, I think these people had a tremendous clarity of vision. The early days of the association really consisted of building new playing fields, getting funds for these new playing fields, and also inspecting the quality of the playing fields. And indirectly, of course, that led to what we all now know as the Best Kept Playing Field competition, which, again, you all know, has been running since 1971, and which several of you in this room are now judging. Over the next few years, the association settled down into very much the format you see today. And I must admit, I'm sure many of you know Nick Shuttleworth, who are Chief Executive of RCCE, but more important for this evening, Nick was a member of the executive of the Playfield Association for many, many years and saw its development. Actually, that's a very interesting background to the way in which the association ended up where it is today. And today is, in a way, it is a celebration. It is a celebration, first of all, of the people who had the vision to set this whole thing up. And you have to admire how they had this idea back in the 1920s of something which would still be so relevant today. We also have to think, and Nick mentioned so many of the names, including David Blue James, who was my predecessor, who did so much to keep it going. I mean, it is a wonderful story. But balanced against the celebration, we do have to think to ask the question, where do we go from here? Or indeed, do we go anywhere from here? And we'll talk about that a bit later.
I've got it. Me.
Can't get the assistance these days, but I'm not being funny, but you know, KGM runs through it, doesn't it?
That's really lovely. Thank you. Thank you. That's great. That's made my day.
Chief Education, though, is a Deputy Lieutenant, and much more important than that, she's one of our judges for Best
Queen Elizabeth. That's where the fair is out there.